Hey guys, I want to show you something that I made today that makes it a little bit easier to do the chest animation with the goon rig. So what I set up was a set of expressions that makes it so when you rotate the top controller here, all the others follow in degrading amounts every single time. It makes it so it's just a lot easier to do the top animation. You don't have to worry about keeping track of all these controllers as you're doing it. This works for all directions too. You can bend them over like this. You can turn them like this. And you could still rotate them as well. If for whatever reason you still want to hand animate this, you can, or like let's say there's a situation where you have to hand animate it. I still have in here, I added some attributes called modify X rotation Y and Z, where you can still hand key this. It does still relate to this, but you can add a little bit of offset to the animation. So you can do it whatever, or you can do it either way that your animation needs. If you don't really care how this is done, you can go ahead and just download the, and you want to have this, download the file that I put along with this message. It has the base character rig here with the expressions added, so it'll be easier to animate. But if you want to know how it's done, I have prepared another file here which has all the other rotations in besides in the X direction. So I can do this in front of you guys just so you know how to do it. So what we need to do is we have our rotation X here in our chest FK control. Copy this so that it's you can reference it later. Go down to this second controller here. And what you're going to do is you're going to open up in Windows, Animation Editor's Expression Editor. You're going to go here and you're going to find your rotate X. And you are going to plug this in. So now we're referencing the controller that's above it. And then you're going to type in rotate X equals, apologies, it should be like this. What you're doing is you're setting the current controller, which you're going to do like this. The current controller, the rotate X, to the rotate X of the above controller, divided by an amount. So for the setup that I had, I just did 1.5. Now this will already work if you don't really want the offsets that I had, like the hand keys. So if we go up here and we do this, you see how that's already working. And if we look at the values of the rotation below, you can see, so we have almost 20 here. And all this is doing is dividing it by 1.5. And that's what it is right there. If we want to add the offset as well, I'm going to go ahead and zero this back out. You can go back in here and we're going to have to create a attribute down here. And the way that you do that is you go to modify, add attribute, and I'm just going to name it the same way that I have these other ones. Modify X rotation, just to say okay. Now that we have this created, this is just a float value that we can control. Actually, in this case, I think it's doing integer. So I'm going to go ahead and change that so that you can have a little bit more stepping within there. I'm going to go, this is how you delete the attributes too. You go to modify, delete attribute, okay, delete. You go to modify, add attribute. It is specifying it's a float. I'm not sure why it's stepping in integers. You probably can type in a float and it'll be fine. Modify X rotation. Okay, now that we have this float that we can control, I'm going to go in here, Windows Animation Editor, and I'm going to go to the rotate X and have this defined by something a little bit different. So I'm going to put this in quotations. So it's going to do this operation first, and then it's going to add on the ribs FK control. I'm just copying the name up here of the controller that we're using. We do dot modify X rotation, and make sure that you're writing this all, make sure you're spelling everything right or else it's not going to work. Now we press edit or else it won't save, so you have to press edit. And now this should, that's the wrong thing, don't click that. Yeah, there we go. That works. So this will still listen to this. That's altering, but then we can also hand key it. I'm going to zero this back out. And do the final bone, or final control, sorry. Same process, modify, add attribute, modify Y rotation, it's actually X rotation, modify X rotation, okay. And then we need to go into the expression editor here. We're going to define rotate X as this rotate X. Apologies yet again, it has to be this way. It has to be waist FK, the name of the current bone, current control. I keep saying that wrong. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Sure, yeah, okay. It is lowercase rotate. So we have waist FK control dot rotate X equals this, and for the low bone in the setup, control, keep saying bone. Do this. And then we add on that float value that we created. So we just need to copy this over. Instead of rotate X, we're going to bring in modify X rotation. And make sure you finish it with a semicolon. Create that. So now this should listen to the top as well. We can bend it like this. And we could also hand key it. So we can go in and change this manually. Now let's say that you wanted the bones to controls to follow less closely to this top one. You can go in and just change those div values. I'm going to zero this out yet again. Let's say we want this one to follow the top just a little bit less. We go into the expression editor, and rotate X is divided by 0.5 or 1.5. Let's actually divide it by 2.5. Then that's going to follow less closely. So you see how this is more stiff compared to what we had originally. That's about it. That's how you add attributes and reference them to each other in Maya, kind of like you can do in Houdini. That's what gave me the idea for this. I'm sure there's a lot more applications for this, so it's probably a good thing to know. And I'm hoping that you find some usefulness in that. Thank you.